Hello everyone, Squee here, and I've got a very important update if you watch Dragon Ball Z League. Now, if you're part of Dragon Ball Z League, you probably already know what I'm going to say, but if you're one of the fans that just kind of, or the viewers that just kind of watches, you don't go to the forums or participate, and that's kind of your thing, that's perfectly fine. You still want to listen to this because there's a vote involved, and I want everyone who watches and enjoys Dragon Ball Z League to take part in this vote because it's important. So, I'll explain the gist of it, and then I'll also include a link in the description below to the forums where we debated the topics. And I very much encourage you to go take a look at the forums because there's a lot of good arguments for or against that I think that you should take a look at before you vote. And the topic is, should we keep the Super Saiyans for Season 8? Now, the idea is that we can either keep the Super Saiyans and start adding some what we feel are kind of unfair nerfs, or we could dispel the team, or technically move them to the Gauntlet so that they're still there, but they're not a player team, and make a new team. And the reason for this is pretty simple. The Super Saiyans are an incredibly powerful team. Ever since we've had division ranking systems, they have not only been in North Kai every single season, which is, I think, 5 seasons, by the way, but they have been at the top of North Kai, as in the #1 ranked team, every season except for one, and that was when Team Muscle was ludicrously overpowered. So the Super Saiyans dominate the league year in and year out. In fact, the worst win-loss record they have ever had has been 11 wins, 4 losses, and no team can come close to that kind of record. Sure, there's been some teams that have good seasons like that, but those are balanced by not so good seasons, whereas the Super Saiyans every season are consistently great. And while coaches play a large factor in this, I agree, and they've had some really good coaches, these numbers have stayed consistent through many coaches. So it very much is that the players on this team are very powerful, and they're all grouped together on one team. If you watch the league a lot, you know that Vegetas as a whole tend to be very powerful, and there's a lot of Vegetas on that team, and that's only part of it. Of course, you've got Goku and Adult Gohan, etc. And we've noticed as the staff that a lot of people are not liking the Super Saiyans anymore. A lot of viewers like yourself get bored when it comes to watching the Super Saiyans because you feel like you already know who's going to win. A lot of you only enjoy watching the Super Saiyans on those rare occasions when they lose. And a lot of teams don't enjoy going up against the Super Saiyans because they feel like it's just going to be an automatic loss. Why even try? And you know, after 5 seasons of domination, you can hardly blame them for it. And over the course of the 5 seasons, we have tried several things to nerf the Super Saiyans, and none of them are really working. And we do have a few things we could do, but it's going to get to the point where it's not going to be fun to play that team anymore. If I'm a coach and I'm coaching the Super Saiyans, I'm going to have so many restrictions on me that it's just not going to be that fun. And at that point, we're kind of like, maybe we should not have the Super Saiyans anymore. Maybe we should get a new team. Now, I want to make it clear, we have a few ideas in mind for new teams, but that's not the purpose of the vote, so I don't really want to talk about that before we decide, because I don't want the reason you go vote is because you want to see this particular new team. No, we have some ideas, but that's a vote for another time. The issue at here is, do you as viewers enjoy watching the Super Saiyans despite them being so dominant, or are you bored or tired of the Super Saiyans because every other team has ups and downs? The Super Saiyans are always consistent, and like I said, I know that a lot of you have gotten bored with it, but I don't know if it's the majority of you. So the coaches and team players have been debating this for a week, and like I said, the description is in the link below to the threads, and I really suggest that you go to the threads and you just read the arguments put forth for both sides, because it might give you some perspective. Now, understand that as a staff, we don't really mind one way or the other. We can add some nerfs to the team if we want to keep them in there. We're doing this because we feel that we've hit a point where it would be, like I said, it wouldn't be fun for the team anymore, and we're wondering if it's just better to scrap it. Now, we don't mind, so we don't mind which way the vote goes, but we feel this is a vote that should be had, and it should be had by everyone, not just the coaches or the people that participate, but you as well, because this league was made for you to watch and enjoy. And if there is something in the league that the majority of you do not enjoy, it should be addressed. You can just go vote. The link is in the description below as well. However, I do strongly encourage you to go read the arguments for both sides. You don't have to make an account on the forums if you don't want to. Just go read it, and then vote. And basically, there's only two options. There's, do we keep the Super Saiyans and start implementing some more extreme nerfs on them? Or do we disband them and get a new team in there? And just so you know, some of the nerfs that we're considering is like reducing how many points you can spend on builds, reducing who they can take as free agents, which they're already reduced by a lot. Basically builds, nerfs that as a team player, you know, if I'm coaching the Super Saiyans and I can only have 5 or 6 points or even 4 points to build and all the other teams get 7, that's not fun. It's getting to the point where it's just not fun anymore. In the thread, they debated a lot of other options that we as a staff had already considered and put aside, like, what if they all start in base form? Well, that's not really going to change much because their base forms are amazing too. But we let that play out in the threads. We let everyone come to their own conclusion, which is why I really suggest you read it, because it might help you form your opinion. Anyway, I am droning on and on and on. But I strongly encourage everyone who watches Dragon Ball Z League, who enjoys it, to go and put your vote in. I mean, what do you think? This is your time. If you really don't like or are bored by the Super Saiyans, this is your chance to change that. But if you love the Super Saiyans and you want to keep them, and you don't voice your opinion through a vote, you might lose the chance to see them. Except in the Gauntlet, we will keep them, even if they're voted off. We will keep them as round 1 of the Gauntlet. So they're not being retired or put to pasture. They're almost being elevated to mythical levels of the first round of the Gauntlet will become this team that has dominated for so long. So that's it. Go to the threads, take a look at the arguments, then go to the poll and vote. And yes, you can only vote once. And trust me, we've put limiters on it. And then we will see what people think. We'll give everyone about a week to vote. And then we'll take what the majority is, and then from there we'll know how to proceed. And if you know, if you guys voted off, then we'll talk about other teams. We'll have a place for people to give team ideas, and we'll, like I said, we'll go from there. Now, I should also let you know, the coach of the Super Saiyans is not being kicked off or anything like that. It is. And we understand it is not very fair to him to be forced to lose his team, but it's also not fair to everyone else who does not enjoy this. So it's kind of like a catch-22. However, he will have the option to coach the new team should he want it. And really, we're not sure. But he's not being shafted any more than absolutely necessary. Yeah, so that's it. Go there, vote, and love you guys. And I will see you later.